Hello, my name is Amy Sturkey. I am a pediatric physical therapist, and I am here with my good friend. This is Chris, and he has Down syndrome, and I used to treat Chris a good while ago. I probably saw him for close to 10 years. I'm here with his parents. This is Terry and Chip, and we're finishing up a video series on just what it's like to have Chip as a son. Could you tell me what was or will be the most challenging time you think you'll have with Chris?
Well, for me, the most challenging time was before he was born, because it was the idea, before he was here, and the sense of the loss of what hopes and dreams were for a child. And in some ways, I might have had some resentment of all these moms who were pregnant and could have this kind of joyful, pre-pregnancy, like, oh, the world is my oyster, everything is possible. And there was a sense that there are already limits that are kind of placed. That was probably the first hardest time. And I imagine the second hardest time will be when he moves out. Even now, as we're getting probably a couple months away from him moving into a alternative family living arrangement, I look at him and I just feel tearful about it will be hard for his joy not to be kind of in our household every day.
It is a normal part of life, though, that you live at home, yes, and then you move out and you have a life of your own. And,
right.
Yes.
I do have flashes of wistfulness. I hear about people, not just I was a later in life dad, but people who became parents at the same time I did, who are getting daughters that are married or having grandchildren or going off to college or medical school, graduate school. And so I can't call it disappointment, but I do feel wistful at moments like that. But that's just really, that comes in flashes, and then I get back to my perspective about that. And
if you could go back before he was born, and if you could say something to yourself, what would you say?
Yeah, because even now I'd be hesitant to give any kind of Pollyannish. There are challenges. There are, he needs kind of definite physical kind of, help with eating and dressing.
And do all those therapies.
Oh my God. Now, we did love our therapists. I have to say, the therapists were another part of his community that just, because they loved him, but they also challenged him, and they helped us see that we would do better, not to just kind of adapt. I think we had one therapist, I can't remember her name, but she might have challenged us because Chip used to like to ride Christopher down the stairway on his back, because Christopher just knows how to get other people to work for him. And she's like, you can't do that. And it's like, stop doing that.
I wonder what therapist.
I hear the echo every morning.
Yes. So, but that's, in some ways, I would say, be open to learn. It will not be what you expected. There's a famous poem about, this is a trip to Holland. I forget exactly what it says.
You planned your whole life for a trip to Italy, and you end up going to Holland.
And when I first read that, it was not all that helpful to me. It really just was like, yeah, you don't know my life or my hopes or my dreams. And we did read a book by Martha Beck about
Expecting Adam.
She had and she talked about her struggle. And we read that while pregnant with Christopher. And the phrase that always stays in my mind, I think both of our minds, is being overwhelmed by joy. And that she was describing her son, and her older daughter's kind of like, yeah, he
was brushing his teeth with an electric toothbrush, and she was wondering why was Adam getting so excited, and the little daughter rolled her eyes. Oh, he's just overwhelmed by joy. Like that was
just a normal. That's just what he does. And I think that is a good thing that will happen.
I'm not sure if I would say anything differently to encourage myself at the beginning of this journey. I think when we were diagnosed before Christopher was born and right after he was born, I had 2 goals for myself. One of which was to make sure that I would create the best world possible for Christopher. And the other thing was that I would learn from the experience of being a father to Christopher. And I don't know how well I've succeeded at the first goal, but I do know that the one thing that I've learned on the second goal is that to be a parent of a child with Down syndrome or any other special need is that you can learn to be free from the curse of disappointment. I think a lot of expectations in parents turn tragic, and whether they get into Harvard or marry the right girl or make a lot of money. And I'm free from that type of burden. I'm free from the burden of disappointment because theoretically we say every day is a gift, but with Christopher, it's the reality.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if your feelings are common for parents, because I had another father when they hadn't done the earlier testing. So when their child was born, this was the first time they found out that they had a child with Down syndrome. And this dad told me, as soon as I found out, I got down on my knees in the hospital and prayed to God, please let me be the best father I can be. Just this fear of, can I do this? I want to be the best I can possibly be.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. I think one of the things that Chip said, which really is so true for us, is wanting to make the world a hospitable place for Christopher. Because, so you don't care about that. So, but because because our society, we are really blessed because we got, because of his leukemia, we got a waiver, which provided a lot of financial resources for his respite care, for his therapies, for his medical care. And that so many people in our state. I'm an advocate for the Down syndrome clinic in the local hospital here, and I talk to so many parents who are overwhelmed because they do need some extra support. Right. I mean, you need some extra support because of the physical needs, and our state does not, provides very limited waivers, and so I think, if I had the capacity to get more involved politically, it would be to make our society more welcoming. Yeah. If we want to say, let's welcome every child into the world, well, let's make sure we have a world to welcome them into.
Right. They have the support they need, so it's not an overwhelming thing.
Yes.
So I think that the spirit that is Chris is similar to the spirit that's in you or me. And I think that the body that we have is kind of a filter through which that shines. Sort of like when I drive a Porsche, not that I do, versus when I drive a jalopy. I have a different outer shell, but it's the same me.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So when one day when you, I don't know if you believe in heaven, but when you see Chris in heaven, what do you think that's going to be like when you're free from all of this?
So he was just reaching out to you. To me, that is the great image of, you don't need words. And that's so often, when they talk about love, it's not about, even faith, it's not about words. It's something that's much deeper, and it's something that is beyond words. And so, I think you were going to answer too, but I guess when I just saw him reaching, I just had to kind of comment that the language is really not the essence of who we are.
To answer the question about what it would be like to meet Christopher in heaven, I'm prepared to be surprised, just like I've had wonderful surprises for the last 22 years.
Yeah.
This has been an amazing series of discussions, and I'm just so thankful for you, Chris, and for you, Chip and Terry. Thank you so much for being willing to share your experiences and share Chris with the world.
Thank you. He should be shared with the world.
He should be. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. If you liked this video and would like to be notified by email when the next video comes out, click the subscribe button here and click the golden bell icon and ensure notifications are enabled on your account.